Now I am really mad. And when I get mad, I'm like,
Mr. Drummond, you can't quit now. Why not? You were ready to...
I'm a very poor substitute for the great Cantifla.
Did you know that some of the biggest names in Hollywood gave incredible performances while hardly drinking? Their off-screen antics were just as dramatic as their on-screen personas, ranging from legendary bar fights to wild set stories. Ever wonder which celebrities, even when filming, couldn't resist a drink? Come explore 25 Hollywood stars who were constantly intoxicated. The 5'3" Hollywood powerhouse Mickey Rooney enthralled audiences with his unending enthusiasm while performing, singing, or dancing. He had financial difficulties as the years passed, and the leading man roles dwindled, but this whirlwind of talent was a mainstay in movies from the 1920s. Rooney took on smaller roles in the 1950s and 1960s.
Another favorite has long been a war.
But the strain sent him down a dark path of alcoholism. This colorful star, though, overcame his demons. With the help of his eighth and last wife, Jan Chamberlain, and a renewed commitment to Christianity, he changed his ways in 1978. Their tale of love turned into a ray of hope, proving that even in the face of hardship, redemption is achievable. Chaos and alcohol drove Dennis Hopper's crazy journey through Hollywood. Hopper, a self-described terrible alcoholic, had a rebellious streak from an early age, from drinking from dawn until night to sniffing gasoline fumes as a child on a Kansas farm. Substances? Merely a byproduct of his primary vice, alcohol. However, Hopper found himself at a turning point by the early 1980s. By 1986, he had returned to life with memorable roles, such as the eerie, gas-huffing villain in Blue Velvet. Thanks to the wonders of rehabilitation, Hopper's tumultuous journey served as a reminder that it's never too late to make a comeback. A Hollywood wildcard known for his infamous drinking adventures was Oliver Reed. Reed lived a big life, whether it was contesting who could outdrink him or creating his notorious gunk cocktail, which was a concoction of all the bar bottles that were available. He once performed a victorious handstand on a bar after downing 126 pints in a single day. In order to avoid paying room service fees,
perhaps I should introduce myself.
Oliver Reed as Joe Knox.
My name...
He turned his hotel suite into a makeshift pub, cost Steve McQueen a movie role, and puked on him during a pub crawl. His reputation for being inebriated preceded him even on set, as he famously outdrank co-star Lee Marvin in Mexico. Reed embodied the perfect balance of bluster and craziness, and his charisma and talent made him unforgettable despite the chaos. Known for his flawless comedic timing and dramatic nuance, Jack Lemmon struggled with inner demons that few people were aware of. He always worried that each role might be his last, even though he was successful. This worry caused him to become more dependent on alcohol during the 1970s. His drinking problem reached a breaking point in 1976.
How many charter members are there in this little club?
Hell, just those small.
When he was arrested for DUI, which served as a wake-up call. Lemmon publicly acknowledged his struggle with alcohol by the early 1980s. In 1998, he talked about his experience as a recovering alcoholic on Inside the Actor's Studio. His openness about his difficulties only increased his respect for his extraordinary talent and fortitude. The iconic figure of American cinema, Humphrey Bogart, was well known for his captivating performances, as well as his propensity for drunken, late-night antics. Despite being praised for his parts in timeless classics, Bogart's off-screen life was filled with drunken adventures and bar fights.
What's the matter?
Just wondering if you have to,
Oh.
His drinking was as notorious as his tough guy persona, from carrying a thermos of martinis on set to pedaling around Warner Brothers in pajamas. Even a toy panda turned into a notorious drinking partner, causing a brawl in the bar. Bogart's wild habits overshadowed his fame with legendary stories of intoxication, even though he shared drinks with celebrities like Sinatra. Throughout her life, Judy Garland, a Hollywood legend with a voice that is hauntingly beautiful, battled a lot of personal issues. The actress fought alcoholism, addiction, and severe emotional problems long before her tragic death from a drug overdose on June 22, 1969. when she was just 47 years old. The film Judy, starring Renee Zellweger, beautifully depicts Garland's turbulent last weeks, which were marked by a string of critically acclaimed performances in London. Behind the glamour, she led a difficult life filled with substance misuse and internal conflict, leaving a complicated legacy of both extraordinary talent and tragic vulnerability. Next up is a celebrity whose drug and alcohol abuse were so severe that they drew their own family into the turmoil. Mel Gibson, a Hollywood titan renowned for classic movies like The Passion of the Christ and Braveheart, has had a brilliant and controversial career. Gibson's difficulties have frequently overshadowed his work, despite his undeniable talent both in front of and behind the camera. His image was damaged, and he fell from grace significantly after his arrest for drunk...
Please, stop!
driving in 2006 and his shocking anti-Semitic outburst, a complex picture of a star whose off-screen antics rivaled his on-screen performances, was painted by Gibson's battle with alcohol and a series of public outbursts, which became tabloid fodder. The charismatic actor RichardDreyfuss, who starred in iconic films like Jaws, once struggled with a secret demon, a combination of excessive drinking and drug use that hampered his career. He discloses that this reckless phase was caused by undiagnosed bipolar disorder in his book, Moments of Clarity. His problems were so severe that he was unable to remember playing a paralyzed painter in the movie Whose Life Is It Anyway? One Fateful Night.
Brown, I'd appreciate a little tiptoeing. Also, I sleep in the nude. A buffo. Winter and summer.
When he crashed his Mercedes into a palm tree while drunk and high on cocaine, the mayhem peaked. He miraculously lived with only minor wounds, which served as a much-needed wake-up call. Oscar-winning performances are only one aspect of Spencer Tracy's Hollywood story. His struggle with alcoholism is another. Tracy gained a bad reputation for binge drinking while he worked at Fox. His lifestyle finally caught up with him in June 1934.
You know, talking to you is like pulling teeth. You wear me out.
When he vanished before shooting Marie Galante and was discovered in a hotel room, barely conscious following a 2-week binge. He was taken off Fox's payroll during his hospital recovery as a result of the incident, and he later had to deal with a sizable lawsuit for production delays. Throughout his tumultuous career in Hollywood, Johnny Depp has battled substance abuse, which has gotten worse over time. "I spent years poisoning myself," he said candidly, recalling a darker period in the early 1990s, particularly during his turbulent relationship with Kate Moss. Known for playing quirky characters, Depp's off-screen antics included a well-known hotel room outburst that resulted in an arrest. His openness about these conflicts gives the mysterious star more nuance. Take a look at the next person on the list before you hit the club scene. At the UNICEF Masquerade Ball on October 26th, Hollywood actor Ben Affleck opened up about his battles with alcoholism and gambling addiction. He described a turbulent journey that ended with a relapse not long after he celebrated a year of sobriety. He is still dedicated to his career and sobriety in spite of numerous rehab stays and the demands of celebrity. He told reporters outside of his ex-wife Jennifer Garner's house after his recent setback.
Do you help make costumes, or do you have to go out and try and find whatever?
Stand here and pretend that I'm in.
It happens, it's a slip, but I'm not going to let it derail me. Affleck emphasizes the value of resilience in his continuous recovery process while acknowledging that his addiction is a part of his life. The legendary Baywatch and Knight Rider star David Hasselhoff has a turbulent past with alcohol. In 2002, he started drinking excessively, and in 2004, he was arrested for DUI. He made headlines for having the highest blood alcohol level ever recorded at the Betty Ford Center after checking in, serving as a sobering reminder of the dangers of alcohol.
I'm 62 now, so I don't make rescues. Well, I rescue young women.
His visitation rights were revoked in 2007 after a startling home video taken by his teenage daughter showed him intoxicated. The video went viral. But Hasselhoff changed his ways, adopting a healthier diet, exercise, and sobriety. He now talks about his experience in the hopes of encouraging others to take note of his errors and make better decisions. Celebrated for his iconic parts as Dr. Frasier Crane in Cheers and Frasier and Sideshow Bob in The Simpsons, Kelsey Grammar has experienced both personal and professional upheaval.
What do you say we have a toast?
I got some scotch, if that sounds good.
Great, I'll go get it.
Top shelf.
Of course, nothing less.
Despite his brilliant career, it has been marred by severe tragedy, including the brutal deaths of 2 family members. He struggled with drug and alcohol addiction as a result of these heartbreaking events. However, Grammar's tenacity is evident. He has turned his suffering into stirring performances, demonstrating that even the most trying paths can result in incredible victories and a greater comprehension of the complexity of life. The 1970s. Hollywood star Ryan O'Neal's problems with drugs and alcohol contributed significantly to the controversy that surrounded his off-screen life. His drinking was known to have affected some of his performances, making it difficult to distinguish between his troubled real life and his charming on-screen persona. O'Neal's personal life gained media attention in 2008 when he and his son Redmond were taken into custody after police found meth in their Malibu residence.
You didn't tell me this was going to be a big group thing.
No group. It's just a single guest.
You mean a guest?
The public and private struggles of the O'Neal family were further complicated when Redmond, who had been struggling with drug abuse for a long time, blamed his parents. In addition to his renowned performances, Richard Harris was also well known for his wild lifestyle. The Irish-born actor, who was frequently as drunk as his rebellious characters, embraced his Hellraiser persona during the 1960s and 1970s. Throughout his early career, Harris, who was known for his love of alcohol, struggled with alcoholism and almost lost himself to it. A near-fatal cocaine overdose in 1978 marked a turning point in his life, and in 1981, he decided to give up drugs and embrace sobriety.
The king is not England, and England is not the king.
But 10 years later, the lure of Guinness pulled him back, but his reputation as a gifted actor lives on beyond his illustrious off-screen adventures. John Belushi was a natural comedian who captivated audiences with his unbridled energy and outrageous antics. He brought iconic characters to life as a member of the original Saturday Night Live cast. His off-screen persona was just as intense, characterized by frequent parties that were fueled by alcohol and cocaine. Despite being legendary, this way of life tragically short-circuited his genius. Belushi made a lasting impression on comedy with his legendary roles in Animal House and The Blues Brothers.
Now you'd think it would be Australia, but it's not. A rock, pal!
Belushi is still remembered as a representation of wild talent and the dangerous edge of excess, even though he passed away too soon at the age of 33. George C. Scott's battle with excessive drinking and his fiery temperament were well known, and they manifested both on and off stage. His problems reached a breaking point one night on Broadway when, in a fit of rage, he punched a mirror, severely cutting his hand, forcing him to wear a rubber glove to continue the performance. Scott battled a deep-seated self-loathing that drove his drinking beneath his famous depictions of tough, strong characters.
We are rapidly approaching a moment of truth both for ourselves as human beings and for the life of our nation.
A turning point in his career was his performance in Patton, 1970, where he found some measure of serenity in acting and transformed his inner turmoil into iconic roles that solidified his reputation in Hollywood. The legendary actor Rip Torn, who was well known for his powerful performances, struggled with alcohol all of his life. In the 2000s, his outrageous driving antics gained notoriety and led to 3 arrests for drunk driving. Torn was acquitted after his 2004 New York adventure ended with a taxi accident in which he famously swore at police and refused to take a breathalyzer test. A tractor-trailer collision 2 years later resulted in a guilty plea and probation. Despite his difficulties, Torn's talent was evident and he made a lasting impression on Hollywood.
How can you even ask me that?
Mr. Gibbs.
I do.
Who would have guessed that an alcoholism battle could halt a production? The legendary comedian Chris Farley battled addiction throughout his career, which clouded his Saturday Night Live tenure. Despite Bernie Brillstein's attempts to get him into rehab and Lorne Michaels' tough stance, his struggles with drugs and alcohol resulted in multiple suspensions. Farley's health clearly deteriorated by 1997. The customary high-energy antics gave way to a more restrained performance during his final SNL hosting stint that October, marking a bittersweet farewell.
Idiot! Stupid moron! I'm such an idiot!
Fans are left wondering what might have been if Farley had overcome his inner struggles, as his legacy is still one of brilliant comedy overshadowed by personal demons. The tough star with the striking white hair and gravelly bass voice, Lee Marvin, was well known for both his on-screen persona and his off-screen vices. Marvin was a well-known heavy drinker who frequently struggled with alcohol-fueled antics that interfered with shoots and negatively impacted his health. Nevertheless, he gave legendary performances that solidified his Hollywood reputation despite the fog of hard life. Marvin eventually changed his ways, sobered up, and took back control of his life. Gritty, flawed, and ultimately redemptive, his story is reminiscent of a classic Hollywood tale.
And the sister? Chris, what about her?
Is it possible for someone to lose themselves in addiction to the point where they forget their part in a movie? John Candy, the adored comedy giant, was notorious for enjoying a vibrant nightlife, which frequently included binge drinking. Candy was known for hitting the party circuit hard, according to former best friend Jonathan O'Mara, who recalled his fondness for hard liquor. Another friend recalled, he could drink a lot, and often did, highlighting the fact that alcohol was a mainstay of his way of life.
It ain't about the money, I'll leave that to you. But you folks, you need a wagon master.
Even though his cheerful manner concealed the toll it took, there are still concerns about whether his drunken antics played a role in his premature heart attack. Candy apparently paid a high price for the laughter. The well-known Hollywood actor Sir Anthony Hopkins has been transparent about his battle with addiction, which at one point left him hopeless. Hopkins battled alcoholism for almost 50 years, a condition he later acknowledged was a disease rather than a personal preference. He continues to identify as a recovering alcoholic, highlighting the lifelong commitment to healing. Even after 47 years sober, Hopkins changed his life and achieved the contentment and happiness he had previously believed unattainable by getting help and making the daily decision to stay sober.
Okay. Stay open. Who knows? Lightning could strike.
His narrative serves as a ray of hope, demonstrating that with perseverance and support, a new and meaningful life is possible. Did you know that a Hollywood star's battles with drugs and alcohol ended their life? From the illustrious Barrymore family came John Barrymore, one of Hollywood's most recognizable characters, who captivated audiences in the early 1900s. Barrymore's battles with alcoholism overshadowed his talent, even though he was brilliant in Shakespearean roles and had a memorable performance as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. His portrayals, which frequently included likable characters struggling with addiction, uncannily reflected his own life. He was so desperate that his second wife famously caught him trying to drink her perfume. He portrayed an alcoholic actor in Dinner at 8 by 1933, but his decline was swift.
No, not strangers.
Never.
Never.
Thanks very much.
Not at all.
Barrymore's career waned, and he passed away from alcohol-related illnesses at the age of 60, having relied on cue cards to help him remember lines. At the age of 29, Michael J. Fox was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which led to a turbulent battle with alcoholism. He first turned to alcohol as a coping strategy to cover up his anxiety and uncertainty about the future. He explained his state of mind as follows: "I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what was going to happen. What if I could just have a shot and 4 glasses of wine?" This battle demonstrates the difficulties he encountered, both as a Hollywood celebrity and as a person juggling the intricacies of life while suffering from a crippling illness.
Strange, because everybody had an opinion about it, and that kind of really helped me because I realized how bullshit.
Let's turn our attention to someone who isn't ashamed at all of his reputation as an alcoholic. The drunken antics of Robert Shaw on the Jaws set went down in history. Unpredictable mechanical sharks and choppy seas made filming already chaotic, but Shaw's love of scotch added even more tension. His persistent drunkenness frequently caused him to clash with Richard who wasn't thrilled about collaborating with a co-star who was always intoxicated. Perhaps hoping that the ocean could handle what the set couldn't, Dreyfuss even threw Shaw's drink overboard. Ironically, Shaw did a fantastic job portraying his character's intoxication, likely because it wasn't that difficult. It's safe to say that there was more drama than just the water.
And Lou, and he saw us too. A young pilot, a lot younger than Mr. Hooper anyway. He saw us. And
Have you ever heard someone carrying a stash of whiskey to their grave? Famous for her iconic beauty and powerful acting abilities, Elizabeth Taylor fought her personal demons with remarkable openness. Her brave admission to the Betty Ford Center in 1983 brought her battles with addiction, specifically alcohol use disorder, AUD, and opioid use disorder, OUD, to the public's attention. She broke the stigma associated with addiction by becoming the first famous person to publicly seek treatment at the renowned facility. Taylor's candor about her struggles made her relatable and served as a source of inspiration for many people going through comparable struggles. Her recovery journey changed how people thought about addiction and mental health, leading to more empathy and understanding.
I'm not talking about people who come here.
The following individual on this list was fortunate.